Can writing a poem,
To be or not to be? That is the question.
make you feel less overwhelmed? Are you feeling overwhelmed today? Do you have a lot going on in your mind? That's how I was feeling this morning. And really this past week. I've just had so much on my mind, and a lot of it's been good. A lot of good things going on, been keeping busy, been learning a lot, been going through these changes in my life, and they've been really great. On top of that, I also had some things that I've been kind of worried about or just feeling insecure or having some doubts about. Overthinking, just overthinking a lot of things going on in my life. So the whole combination of both really awesome things and my own worries and insecurities, and it all just starts to feel a little overwhelming. And I was just feeling like, man, this is too much. So naturally, I decided to write a poem. You might be wondering, how can writing a poem make you feel less overwhelmed? I have 3 points I want to go over of reasons I think poetry can really help when you're feeling overwhelmed. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to read the poem that I wrote today. So let's dive in. Okay, so the first reason I think poetry can really help when you're feeling overwhelmed is because it forces you to kind of step back. It kind of forces you to get rid of all the noise and focus your attention on the task, on writing a poem. It makes you think, okay, what do I want to write about? What kind of poem do I want to write? And I'm just going to zero out everything else and make this quiet space to write the poem. So that's the first reason, is it just kind of helps you step back from all the noise going on in your mind and all the things calling you, and just say, no, I'm going to take a few minutes to breathe and focus in on doing this one thing. Point number 2, what is it? Oh yeah. Point number 2 is because poetry allows you to express what you're feeling and just to process all the things in your mind. When you go in to write a poem, you can just express how you're feeling. You can just kind of paint with the words the emotions that you have swirling around inside, and it helps you to take it from out of here and put it on the page. A lot like just journaling your thoughts can do too, which I also think is a great way to process when you're feeling overwhelmed. But with poetry, you kind of get to be artistic with it. You get to make these deeper connections with the imagery of your words and the metaphors and the rhyming. It just kind of engages you a little more, I think, too. So it's really rewarding to see those emotions be expressed through this artistic way. And point number 3, which I think is the most important, is poetry allows you to see the bigger picture. So for me, when I write a poem, I kind of follow this structure of lay it all out and then come to this positive end. And for me, that comes out through my faith. It's kind of like poetry is this time to pray, and I come before God and I just lay out how I'm feeling. If I'm stressed, if I'm angry, if I have anxiety, I can express those things through my poetry. But then what I want to ultimately do is shift it and say, okay, Lord, I laid all that before you. I'm going to remember that you are in control, that there's a bigger picture going on, that all these things I need to do, they're going to fall into place. I can remember that I'm leaning on Him ultimately to help me to accomplish all the tasks that I have going on, or the things that I'm worried about or that might be out of my control. I know that He is in control, so I can trust Him and focus on what He wants me to focus on. It connects me to Him, which fills me with this peace that I can just rest and know that, like, okay, it's gonna be okay. So that's point number 3, is through writing the poetry, it really helps us to get a bigger picture. I think if we follow that formula of writing, expressing ourselves, but then bring it to a more positive end. So those are 3 reasons I think poetry can really help us when we're feeling overwhelmed. And I'm gonna go ahead now and read the poem that I wrote today. Thoughts abound like dust in the wind, circling to and fro. Endless stream of noise keeps getting in, dizzy from the overflow. New joys, new goals, excitement in the air, ideas and growth on the rise. Worries, doubts, sleepless burdens to bear, deep wounds that still make you cry. Spiraling tune of happiness and grief, combined array overwhelms. Pour it all out, relief found at your feet, peace of leaning on the great elm. So that's the poem I wrote today. As you can see, I just feeling like I just had so many thoughts going on, all this noise. But then at the end there, it's just that last line that helps shift the whole perspective. Pour it all out, relief found at your feet. And that's inspired from 1 Peter 5, 6 through 7, which says, "Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you." So that's that image there of just casting it all at his feet. You know, that's where the relief is found, because I can take this burden off of myself and lay it before him. And the last line here, I got a little creative with this, but I thought it was cool, saying, "Peace of leaning on the great elm." And so, you know, I had to rhyme with overwhelm. And I was like, I could do realm, but I feel like that's something I would always do. So elm, an elm, you know, I just think of this strong tree, you know, just solid. And it made me think of Proverbs 3:5. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." And so the reverse of that is leaning on God. So that's this peace that is found leaning on the great elm, you know, the true unshakable, grounded force being the Lord in my life. And so that's my poem today, and I hope those verses can help encourage you as well to just lay your burdens down before the Lord. And I hope that you can take some time and go write a poem, and that it would help you just to flush out all that's going on in your mind, get it on the page, and let it turn into something positive and joyous by the end of that poem. And I'd love to hear if you guys write a poem, like leave it in the comments. I'd love to read it and see what you come up with. And please feel free to leave any comments or thoughts about what you do when you're feeling overwhelmed. How do you create in different ways that helps you to overcome all that's going on in your mind? But thank you guys for stopping by. This has been KO here with you to create eternal perspective. Woo!